Hey guys, MoiDawg here, and today we're going over the newest update to Squad, B19. With a whole set of performance fixes, map reworks, helicopter nerfs, and big gameplay changes like body dragging, it's easy to see why this patch has been nearly 5 months in the making. In this video, we'll be going over the key things you should know in B19, because to give you an idea of just how much is in this patch, the full patch notes were so long the devs were actually having trouble fitting it on the Steam store page. Additionally, I wanted to release this video a couple days ago, right when the patch dropped, but with the DDoS attacks and general game instability, it's been a pain to get the footage I wanted. Fortunately, OWI has hotfixed the vast majority of these problems, although it was a bit rough of a launch to say the least. But before we dive in, I do want to remind everyone that I stream a lot of Squad on Twitch, at twitch.tv/MoiDawg. Not only do we stream Squad gameplay, but as an official Squad partner, when there are any big patches, first looks, or special dev events, I'm able to share them with you guys live. These streams are a lot of fun, so I hope to see you there. Now, part of the reason that B19 took so long was the upgrade to Unreal Engine 4.23. This, paired with other optimization tweaks, have, on average, given me an additional 10 to 15 FPS depending on the map. Scorpio has been one of the more frustrating maps in terms of stable frame rate. I can say that I'm now getting around 80 frames on epic quality, with over 100 FPS on low. Although you may dip when a lot of explosions, vehicles, and command abilities are going off, I've noticed a huge performance improvement that has made the game much more fluid. Gameplay wise, one of the biggest changes to B19 is the addition of body dragging. Now I've talked about this in a previous video, but honestly I can't get enough of it. This mechanic is something that I thought would be gimmicky, and to be honest, wouldn't be worth the resources put into creating it. I'm happy to say that I was completely wrong, and going back to a squad without body dragging just feels bad. Downed players now have a hand icon near the back of the neck to indicate that you can drag them. By crouching and pressing F once, your character can drag the body backwards. Although your gun is up, firing will cancel this animation and drop the player, as will standing up, sprinting, or moving forward. Although you can't interact with the player being dragged, a teammate can begin bandaging while moving. To be honest, there are plenty of times I've seen people joking around with the dragging, but as the days have passed and it's become more normal, many times this feature has been used to safely move down players behind cover. It's incredibly useful for players who have been downed right outside of buildings or on top of ridges, and I'm pretty confident in saying that I think this will be a huge improvement to the overall teamwork between players. To make body dragging even more important, non-medic revive times have been increased from 14 seconds to 17 seconds. Although this is just a 3-second change, it now feels like an eternity, and over the past few days I've either been calling for a medic to revive friendlies, carefully clearing the area and then reviving, or dragging them behind cover before pulling out the bandage. This new timer definitely takes some getting used to, but not only do I think it's a good change when combined with the body dragging, it will also make medics even more important than they were before. Now, one change you might have missed is the new capture mechanic. Infantry players are now the only ones who are able to capture objectives, with OWI stating they are trying to encourage quote-unquote boots on the ground gameplay. This means that drivers or helicopters can no longer sit on the point to back cap, and must be physically outside their vehicle to begin the cap. This will also prevent vehicles from sitting on points and contesting caps, which is a positive gameplay change in my opinion. I've definitely seen players over the past couple of days sit on a back cap in something like a scout car and wonder why they hadn't capped in a few minutes. It'll take some getting used to, but it's looking to be a good change I didn't think we even needed. Now, one change that I definitely don't think we needed is the new Fireteam marking system. The patch notes state that they have updated the map markers to use a new system that should be much more efficient on the network for clients and servers. I can't find any other mention of Fireteam markers in the notes, so I'm guessing this is the explanation for the removal of Fireteam leaders being able to place more than one enemy marker on the map. With B19, if a Fireteam leader spots something and marks it on the map, that's it. He has that one mark, and it's up to the squad leader to either place another mark on top of that to keep it up, or hope you remember the mark for when the Fireteam leader eventually wants to place something else down. I'm really scratching my head at this change. In the first map of B19, I had an FTL mark a hidden radio on Mestia as he died. As we pushed into the area, he used another mark for infantry, and the radio mark was gone. Without this mark, we completely lost track of the hidden radio, searched for a couple minutes, but ultimately had to leave without finding it. The whole point of a fireteam leader is to help manage a smaller section of your squad, and I think that by limiting them to one mark makes it extremely ineffective in helping the squad as a whole. Oftentimes, a fireteam leader will mark not just a HAB, but a radio too, giving his team vital information. What if he sees a tank and a BTR, or a tank sitting next to a hab surrounded by infantry? He now has to pass this information along to the squad leader, who then has to spend more time opening up the map and marking things he used to not have to worry about. And that's not even bringing accurate marks into the conversation. Hate is a strong word, but I hate this change. Maybe it gives some server performance improvements on the back end, but I'll take lower FPS or a bit worse ping if it means I don't have to micromanage Fireteam markers and I can get accurate information again. If I could offer a suggestion, let Fireteam leaders have 3 marks, and perhaps increase the rate at which they expire from the map so that they do not last as long as squad lead marks do. This will allow for Fireteam leaders to mark things like a radio, hab, and infantry or a vehicle. Crucial information that the team needs. Moving on to more positive changes, helicopters have been nerfed. No longer are they indestructible flying tanks. The top and tail areas of helicopters have been changed to have 5mm armor, making them much more vulnerable to small arms. And yes, you read that right, the tail is now vulnerable to small arms fire as well. In my testing, it seems like accurate small arms can disable the tail rotor, although it does take quite a bit to knock it out. RPGs, on the other hand, finally work, and a good lat round will now disable the tail instantly. I tried this with a few different rounds, and it looks like AT-4s are now strong enough to one-shot helicopters, which is odd since tandem rounds bring the helicopter down to about 15%. I don't know if this is intended, but right now, that's where we're at. I'd hope to see that tandem rounds would actually one-shot helicopters as well. I think this will cause a lot of helicopter pilots to rethink how they move around the map, since a lot of times these hot drops and aggressive pilot maneuvers are usually punished with nothing more than just a little bit of hull damage. Now when fired at, pilots will have to worry about the tail rotor being disabled, which was previously only able to be knocked out if it collided against something. I've got to say, seeing a helicopter start spinning is really cool, and I think this will finally reward those players with good enough shots to knock them out. Helicopters have also been restricted to loading and unloading supplies within 30 meters of the ground. Can't find anywhere to actually confirm the number, but my feeling previously was that as long as the helicopter was in the fob zone, it could be a couple hundred meters up and still drop supplies. This is another big nerf, and with helicopters being so vulnerable to small arms now, I would be very surprised to see them swooping in and dropping supplies when a fob is being attacked. Overall, helicopters have been game changers since being released last year, but these B19 changes should dial them back a bit and raise the skill ceiling. Right now, almost anyone can pilot, fly into a hot zone, take a barrage of incoming fire, and then leave without a problem. Now, pilots will need quicker landings and lower hovering, as well as having to take different approaches to objectives in order to stay alive. I really appreciate this and look forward to hearing from pilots on how they like it as well. The Canadians have also received a lot of love in B19. Starting with their kits, the Canadian hats have now been rebalanced. Previously, the first hat had a tandem and a heat round, while the second hat had a tandem and 2 HE rounds. These HE rounds are anti-infantry, and although useful, it felt a bit odd not being able to use heat for lighter vehicles or disabling shots. In B19, the first hat kit has a magnified C7 with 1 tandem and 1 heat round, while the second hat has a C8 with an EOTech, 1 tandem, 1 heat, and 2 HE rounds. This is a pretty significant buff to Canadian hat in my opinion, and to be honest, I think I can see myself running hat 2 a lot more often than hat 1 now, since I much prefer the EOTech sights. The sniper kit has also been limited to 1 per squad, as well as now requiring 5 players minimum in a squad to unlock. This should not only allow for more players to use the kit, but also make it more effective in-game, since currently at the moment, the sniper has typically gone to the players who join the game the fastest, and without squad restrictions, they're almost always both in squad 1, which causes them to roam around together. For the vehicles, the Canadian lav has finally been fixed so that the gun turret no longer locks up and points straight upward when looking behind it. This was a pretty game-breaking bug, and I know it's been the source of frustration for me when using the vehicle against extremely mobile vehicles like Spandrels. However, the lav still can be one-shot by ATGMs, and it looks like it frequently gets stuck in second gear when driving up terrain. I still would like to see this tweaked a bit so the vehicle is no longer one-shot, but I can live with it now that I can at least shoot backwards without staring straight into the sky. Additionally, the Canadians now have a bunch of new layers in the game, including Mestia, Mutaha, and Al-Basra Invasion. Now, I'm a little biased towards Al-Basra Invasion anyways, but I'm absolutely loving them on this map. I've played this layer a couple times now, and each time the Canadians have won. But that's not saying they're a bit overpowered or too mobile for INS, but I do think it's a matchup that we really haven't seen too often in game, so players need some time figuring out how to defend properly against their vehicles. For existing layers, Gordok V2 was stated to have changed from Russia to USA, and unless I'm reading that wrong, I was expecting to see a Canada versus USA map according to the patch notes. Instead, RAS V2 looks to be a CAF Russia layer, but without the spandrel and some other vehicle changes. I'm not sure if this was mistyped or the wrong layer was loaded into the patch, but I would definitely like to see the chaos that a Canada-US round would bring. Keeping in line with map changes, a lot of the older maps and layers have been updated in B19 as well. Although we aren't getting anything new, maps like Kraken and Mestia have been completely reworked to the point that they almost feel like new maps. We've gone over both of these before in previous videos, so if you'd like to take a closer look at them, I'll link them in the description below. However, I do want to point out that Mestia has had the toe mat V and BMP1 removed, which is a huge plus in my book. We had talked previously about how these vehicles could sit out in the distance and snipe the enemy spawn, so I'm really glad to see them out. One map that has also had a complete rework is Manic 5. To be honest, this map feels completely new, and after playing a few of the newer layers, I think this map deserves its own closer look, or else this patch video might get a bit too long. What I will say right now, however, is that this map is much more playable. Terrain has been adjusted to make it easier to move around the map without getting sniped from 1500 meters away, and the flags have been changed to make games flow better. Additionally, new points of interest and strong points have been made around the map, and it makes it really fun to play with a lot of engaging firefights. Things like trench lines, farms, and construction sites really add to the map, and I think this is a huge step up from where it was in the past. On the other side of the CAF coin is Nano Civic. From what I'm reading, the only changes to Nano Civic are the addition of a helicopter and removal of a spawn timer for a lav. I want so much to like this map, but it needs a huge rework like Manic in order to be playable in my opinion. I know maps take a lot of work, so I'm just hoping that they haven't forgotten about this one, since I'm pretty sure most of you guys have never stepped foot in this map. Scorpio has also had some work done to balance and fix the invasion layer. Scorpio Invasion V1 now has a few different spawn locations for militia, with these areas now having a Logi and a Techie instead of that forward point. They have also fixed the bug where the entire shipping zone was a no-fly zone, and any helicopters flying into it would lose their rotors and slam into the ground. Obviously, a much needed fix, since the Americans get 3 Blackhawks on this layer. Finally, Mutaha has gotten helicopters for all of its layers, instead of just territory control, and Narva's tank spawn timer has been reduced from 30 minutes to 20 minutes, in line with other tank maps. Lastly, command call-ins have been adjusted as well. Artillery has been buffed, with rounds now having a 75-meter blast radius, and killing infantry within 20 meters, while heavy mortars have been buffed to have a 45-meter blast radius, which kills infantry within 15 meters. This buff should make artillery much more powerful, while also preventing the cheesy, walk 5 meters behind creeping artillery and get into the point call-ins that we've all had in the past. Close air support strikes have also supposedly been fixed. If you've watched the stream or played Commander enough, you've definitely seen an A-10 or SU strike land nowhere near where it's supposed to be. Apparently, tall structures or high terrain cause these strikes to misfire, and although I haven't tested this on all the maps yet, right now it's looking like a lot of the problem maps, especially Belaya, have been fixed. This is amazing, since strikes not only missing but then causing artillery to go on cooldown was potentially game-breaking, especially if it would have knocked out an enemy radio or tank. Well, that's about it for B19. There are still some other bug fixes and overall changes, like the commander now being gold on the map, militia Urals having a new paint job, and turrets being much more protective against small arms, but I think that covers just about everything you would run into in the game. With so much being added, tweaked, and fixed in B19, what are your thoughts on the patch? There's plenty to take in, so if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and let me know your thoughts on B19 in the comments below. But that's it for me. Peace. 262's down.